Hey folks, this is Riker with the Gaming News Wrap-Up video where we discuss the happenings of the week. This week's topics include NVIDIA dropping a new line of video cards for millionaires, Blizzard adding an elaborate puzzle in Diablo 2 patch notes that hints at Diablo 4's storyline, Blizzard possibly teasing Diablo 4's release date, and more. As always, discussion timestamps can be found in the description below, but right before you skip ahead, just a quick reminder to ring that sub notification bell to be alerted to new Saturday episodes and stay up to date with gaming news highlights. Now before we move on, just a quick word from this video's sponsor, AFK Arena, and their new crossover event in which Geralt and Yennefer are coming to the game. AFK Arena is an idle RPG in which you collect heroes, build up a team, and level them up. Rather than spending time grinding to level up your heroes or their gear, you auto-collect resources while idle, even when you're away from the game completely, so that you can focus on the fun parts: dungeons, raid bosses, the PvE campaign, arena, King Towers, and more. AFK Arena has previously collaborated with other well-known game and anime franchises like Assassin's Creed and Persona 5, and now they're doing a crossover with CD Projekt Red's The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. They're bringing Geralt of Rivia and Yennefer as playable characters, and you'll get to even try them out for free for 3 days. After that trial, you can either earn or redeem the heroes for free, or buy them as part of a bundle. AFK Arena is actually a game my fiance and I played together for a few months. We know some of you folks were even in our clan, and I think it's time to jump back in. So, don't miss this AFK Arena and The Witcher 3 collaboration. Click the link in the description below to download the game and try out Geralt and Yennefer for a limited time, and use my promo code as well for tons of rewards. Starting off with some quick Blizzard news. We've had 2 major departures at the studio this week. Hearthstone's game director, August Dean Ayala, who left Blizzard after 11 years at the company, and has updated his Twitter status to unemployed, and Overwatch 2 lead hero designer Jeff Goodman, who was working on Overwatch back when it was still Project Titan, and made the decision to leave Blizzard earlier this year, according to a Blizzard spokesperson. Given Overwatch 2 releases on October 4th, this isn't exactly good optics for the game. For the lead hero designer to not even wait to see the game launch and have no public comment on why he left. This week also saw the release of Return to Monkey Island, and it's getting very good reviews. This 6th installment in the point-and-click adventure game series has seen its comedy, story, and soundtrack praised by critics, and while it has been made to be appreciated by even those unfamiliar with the series, it does seem as though a huge part of its charm comes from its nostalgia plays. Did you play Monkey Island in the past, and are you going to give Return to Monkey Island a shot? Sound off in the comments. In some Cyberpunk news, following the release of the Cyberpunk Edgerunners Netflix anime series, the game has seen a resurgence in player counts, becoming one of the most popular single-player games on Steam. This week, it saw a concurrent player peak of just under 100,000 players. Compare that to a month ago when it was getting under 20,000 players, and you can see what a bump the Netflix show delivered. This is the highest we've seen the player count since around January 2021, just a month after the game launched. And the devs confirmed that each day of the past week saw 1 million players log in. Now, helping with these numbers, of course, there was a recent patch, a DLC announcement, and a 50% off sale. But the Netflix series is surely the biggest factor here. Have you seen Edgerunners? Sound off in the comments with your thoughts, but no spoilers. I'm an episode or 2 away from the finale, and so far I've been enjoying it. In some graphics card news, we got at the end of last week a shocking announcement. EVGA has terminated its relationship with NVIDIA. While the company will continue to sell the 30X series of cards, which it expects to run out of by the end of the year, it will not be making the next generation, and also has no interest in partnering with AMD or Intel. It's just getting out of the video card market entirely, which currently accounts for 78% of the company's revenue. However, EVGA says that the partnership with NVIDIA was not profitable, and claimed that NVIDIA exhibited controlling behavior, including restrictions on how much EVGA can charge, while NVIDIA itself offered its Founders Edition cards to customers at a discount. A big part of what led to this decision seems to be a souring of the relationship between EVGA and NVIDIA, and the sense from NVIDIA that EVGA screwed them over. So it's not just about the money, but the principle of it all. Basically, EVGA is saying that the profit margins on cards is so low that they can focus on the other aspects of their business, like power supplies, without a significant drop in profit. Remember, profit and revenue are 2 different things. Now, this of course was a huge shock to everyone. EVGA has been synonymous with NVIDIA for the past 2 decades. Almost all of my NVIDIA cards have been EVGA. EVGA really was a trusted name in the GPU space. Weird to say was now, wow. And this is just a big loss for the industry. Then the bad news continued for NVIDIA this week when they revealed their 40X series of cards, and consumers were upset by some pretty stark price jumps. The new 4080 will launch with a price of $1,200. Compare that to the 3080, which was $700, the 2080, which was also $700, and the 1080, which was $600. This is a 70% price jump over the previous generation, and double the price of the 1080 was at launch. Now you might say, well, inflation has been high lately. Sure, that's true. So if you factor in inflation, then the 3080 would be about $800, the 2080 about $825, and the 1080 about $740. So still a big jump of about 60%. And remember, these are the prices for the Founders Editions at MSRP. So for what most people are going to actually pay, add another $100 to $200 for retail markup and for third-party manufacturers like MSI and, well, I guess formerly EVGA. Then power requirements for the 40X cards are also high. We knew they would be. A 4090, for instance, needs a minimum of a 850 watt power supply. And with the cost of energy going up recently, that could easily be another $100 to $200 a year in electricity. Oh, and the price of the 4090 itself? $1,600. It's like they're charging the prices they could have gotten away with during the crypto boom, when cryptocurrency miners were buying up all the cards and everything became incredibly expensive because of scarcity. But now the crypto boom has crashed and miners aren't buying up cards anymore, they're selling them off. Meanwhile, the NVIDIA CEO has said that falling GPU prices are a story of the past. Specifically, during a Q&A session, he said, quote, "Moore's Law is dead. A 12-inch wafer is a lot more expensive today. The idea that the chip is going to go down in price is a story of the past." Now, Moore's Law was the observation that the number of transistors in a chip doubles roughly every 2 years. And this law has held mostly true since 1975, though advancements did start to slow down around 2010. Now, part of Moore's Law is the implication that costs would decrease, as we did observe for the longest time. We would see a 30 to 60% annual drop in the cost to produce microprocessors. And this is because as you put more transistors onto a chip, the cost for each transistor decreases. But now, NVIDIA is basically saying that we've reached the point at which the cost is no longer decreasing, so more power from now on will always be more expensive. A little icing on the cake here, it's worth noting that the 40 series will not support DisplayPort 2.0. NVIDIA is really setting up AMD for a slam dunk here. The 40 series of cards will start releasing in October, so you'd best start applying for those loans today. If you're interested in grabbing one and you're seeing that they're selling a 480 with 12 gigabytes for only $900 versus the $1,200 price for the 16 gigabyte 480, just be aware that you're basically buying a 4070 that's been branded as a 4080. I do want to be fair to NVIDIA though. We do have some great NVIDIA news this week. NVIDIA has made some free DLC for Portal that introduces RTX to the game. So if you own Portal, you can now play it with even more realistic lighting, which is very cool. Then in some massive news this week, we had last weekend a huge GTA 6 leak. A hacker posted to the GTA forums a zip file with 90 leaked GTA 6 videos, along with a message saying, quote, "It's possible I can leak more data soon. GTA 5 and 6 source code and assets, GTA 6 testing build." The clips showed what looked like an early alpha build of the game with in-development and placeholder assets. The devs confirmed that the leak was real and happened via a hack, and industry insider Jason Schreier called it one of the biggest leaks in video game history. GTA 6 publisher Take-Two Interactive has been issuing copyright claims to anyone hosting the leaked clips. Then the hacker, who claims to have also been behind a recent Uber hack, then opened a channel of communication for the GTA 6 publishers to negotiate a deal with them. And after getting flooded with a deluge of troll comments from random internet goers, he then had to send an update saying he's looking for email from an official email account. So while this hacker was apparently smart enough to get access to the content, which seems to have been via social engineering rather than classic code hacking, it seems he wasn't smart enough to fully think through his whole extortion plan. And knowing that publisher Take-Two was aggressive enough in the past to send private investigators to the homes of people who were simply making GTA mods in order to effectively threaten them, I think this leaker may find himself in some trouble soon. An update, the hacker has been arrested in Oxfordshire by City of London police. He's 17 years old. Now, a lot of people who have seen the footage have said that the game looks bad, and this is a perfect example of why leaks like this are harmful to developers. Yes, an in-development build intended only for internal use is going to look bad. That doesn't mean the game itself will end up looking bad. You don't want to know how the sausage is made. All your favorite games look like crap at some stage of development, because it's not necessary for the game to look good while it's being developed. In fact, while you're working in the engine, you don't want to be rendering all these unnecessary things. One incredibly bad take by one Twitter user went viral, in which he stated, quote, "If you knew how game development goes, you'd know that visuals are one of the first things done. This game is 4 years into planning and development. What you see is almost exactly what you'll get. The next year is mission coding and debugging, all back-end stuff. It does look ass." This is such an incredibly ignorant statement, and is effectively the Dunning-Kruger effect in action. Basically, people with low expertise in something tend to overestimate their knowledge in that field. You know, it's why dumbasses speak with such confidence. So the tweet became a meme with lots of devs then tweeting out development footage or screenshots of excellent games that looked half-baked during development, while repeating, "Graphics are the first thing finished in a video game." The original Twitter user has since made his profile private. How embarrassing. In some Torchlight Infinite news, David Brevik has joined the Torchlight Infinite team as a consulting producer. The team said, quote, "His expertise and input from a gamer's perspective will help Torchlight grow better in the future." David Brevik, of course, is one of the fathers of Diablo, being one of the creators of Diablo 1 and 2. This is a big win for the Infinite team. The game's closed beta also recently ended, and the devs subsequently released a blog post detailing their plans to adjust microtransactions based on feedback. And they clarified that things are still not final. Overall, the changes are a step in the right direction, and I'm hoping with more feedback, they can take a couple more steps. But basically, the changes tackle a couple different angles. First off, the game has a trade house. Not quite an auction house, but basically the same thing. There's no real money trade here, though. It's just a way for players to trade items with each other for non-premium currency. However, you can only list X number of pages of items, and then you can spend real money to list more items. So in response to feedback, they're increasing the base number of free listings we get. They're also reducing the cost you have to pay for extra listings, and they're including extra listings as part of the season pass. Then, their other angle, hero traits. These were probably the biggest controversy. A hero trait is something you can select that can radically change your build. And the devs say that the time and effort required to create these is equivalent to creating a brand new character, because they also come with new lore and even visuals. That's why they explain the hero traits that will represent brand new playstyles will be added to the game as paid content. Now that by itself isn't inherently the issue. It's a free game. It's not unreasonable to charge for new characters. The problem was tying it behind a gacha mechanic, and the devs have addressed this. Now all future new heroes will be unlocked directly via purchasing the season pass, and special hero traits will be available for direct purchase. They will also be increasing the ways in which you can obtain hero traits for free, like accumulating enough in-game resources or accomplishing certain achievements. As for the season pass, they previously had an auto pickup feature tied behind the paid season pass. Now it's going to be unlocked via the free track of the season pass. So again, overall, very positive changes. There's still the pet gacha system, but this just goes to show that the devs are listening and reacting to feedback. In some Path of Exile news, the devs announced a t-shirt design competition with prizes awarded to the best designs. And the community has been relentlessly trolling with meme submissions, like this one from Twitter user Clush, or this one from Arathatron, or this one from eMiracles, or this one from Xvin77. With the reception to the current expansion, this was unfortunate timing to run a t-shirt contest, though I'm sure this was pre-planned from before the expansion launch. If you want to submit something serious to the contest, I'll pop a link in the description. The prizes include the Lord's Labyrinth Path of Exile gamebook in the style of old classic choose-your-own-adventure D&D light experiences, a signed art print, Path of Exile t-shirts, and your choice of a variety of cosmetics. Then in some Diablo 2 Resurrected news, patch 2.5 has gone live ahead of the launch of Season 2, which will be on October 6th. We've spoken about the two new major features already, Terror Zones and Sundering Charms. Sundering Charms will be a ladder-only feature, but Terror Zones have come to non-ladder as well. The possibility, of course, exists that Blizzard adds the Sundering Charms into non-ladder in the future, if there's enough positive response to these immunity-breaking charms. A new community-made resource website has also emerged, the Terror Zone Tracker, so that you can easily keep track of what zone is terrorized without having to boot up the game. You can find it on d2runewizard.com, link in the description. This patch also introduces some final changes to the Sundering Charms. First off, they also apply to your pets and summons, as they should, but also instead of granting a fixed amount of negative resistance to us, this negative resistance will roll on a range, thus allowing you to farm for better or worse Sundering Charms. The most exciting thing, at least for me, about the patch notes, however, was the dropping of an ARG at the end. Call it an ARG, call it a puzzle. It was a series of coded messages in which we needed to work our way through and decrypt, and as of now, it's almost fully decrypted. But we'll talk through where we are and how we've gotten there. So this all began when, at the end of the patch notes post, we saw PS, we were flipping through the old Diablo 2 manual. This is a link to the PDF of the D2 manual, and found this confounding inscription. What does it all mean? Picture of lots of really cool Diablo memorabilia, but then there's this journal front and center with gobbledygook, an arrow and question marks, clearly some form of coded message. As hints, we have this symbol here, this coin that is an emblem of D2R. Beneath that, we have the chat gem, and then we have keys. So some clever folks figured out that this was encoded with a Visionaire cipher, and that's a cipher in which you need to use a key, which could be anything, it could be a word, in order to decode it. And so if you apply the key Resurrected, as in Diablo 2 Resurrected, this message becomes decoded. And the message decodes to so many gems. What do these orange numbers mean? So that was another puzzle to solve. And again, then we have D2R logo, chat gem, keys. The chat gem in Diablo 2 Resurrected is the key. So some clever folks again started booting up D2R and spam clicking the chat gem. And you can do this yourself from within the game. You click on lobby, that'll take you to the chat, and then you start clicking the chat gem over and over and over. It's going to say activated, deactivated until eventually, and it can take a very long time, a golden sequence of numbers or an orange sequence of numbers will appear. A 9-digit number sequence. And that's going to look something like this over here. Now, interestingly enough, allegedly, these numbers have been in the game since launch. Reports have emerged, or reports emerged again a year ago at launch of D2R, that these numbers were there. So this apparently has been in the game since then, and no one knew what it did. So again, we had these 9-digit numbers being outputted. And what do you do with those? Well, again, they're linking the Diablo 2 manual. Some very clever individuals figured out that the first 3 digits of the number refer to an order, a sequence in which they appear. Then the second 2 digits refer to the page on the PDF. The next 2 are the line, and the final 2 numbers are the word. And so you keep generating these numbers within D2R, and this became a huge community effort. A document was made spearheaded by Wolfie, but a number of Diablo 2 content creators started to get their communities involved in this as well. It really was a beautiful coming together of the community to start sending in tons of data to help parse this. Again, as of the time of this recording, 10 of the numbers have yet to be discovered, so there's still some gaps, but there are in total 666, a most virtuous number. Now, as I recorded my interpretation of all this text, all these 666 words, the video was getting very long, so we're gonna make a separate video just for that, because I know not everyone is interested in seeing the full 20-minute breakdown of lore stuff. But suffice it to say that it appears as though the text goes through the history of Diablo, talking about what has already happened in past Diablo games, and suggesting what is going to happen in Diablo 4. so stay tuned for that video, which will release tomorrow. Then in some Diablo 4 news, last weekend saw a major Diablo 4 leak. Around 43 minutes of footage from the Friends and Family beta, which was under NDA. The footage appears to have been recorded through Discord. What likely happened is some tester broke their non-disclosure agreement by streaming the game to their friends over Discord, thinking they could trust their friends. Unfortunately, one of those friends recorded the stream and disseminated it on the internet, and the footage is plastered with a watermark that contains the tester's unique ID, so it will be trivially easy for Blizzard to track down who the leak was, and since this is a Friends and Family beta, the employee who extended the beta invite to their friend or family member will likely get in trouble, so all done. Blizzard has been issuing DMCA takedowns to the footage wherever it appears, so of course we're not going to show any of that footage here, but the response from people who have seen the footage has been very positive, despite the footage having been recorded at very low quality and the gameplay including placeholder assets. Following the leak, we got this week an official announcement for an upcoming endgame beta. We covered this fully in this video over here, but in short, you have until October 11th to sign up for the beta, and if you do not get an invite by November 18th, then you are not selected. This will be a closed beta, so people won't be allowed to stream or talk about it, but early next year, a public beta will begin. The endgame beta will give full access to Diablo 4's endgame while keeping the story campaign secret. We got details on what endgame elements will be included. Again, check out the video for the full details. But some folks have started to express concern over what may be some daily activities. It's unclear whether these are or are not dailies, and by dailies we mean objectives with rewards that can only be completed within a limited time frame. Dailies introduce something called FOMO, short for fear of missing out. People feel compelled to log in during the designated time to complete the objective and obtain the reward because they'll miss out otherwise. They can never recoup that reward. This has a great impact on retention. It successfully keeps players logging in every day to do their daily quests. However, while it is effective at its task, it does come with baggage. A lot of players feel that dailies are just chores that must be done. It's work rather than fun. A lot of players feel like they need to do their dailies before they can then play with friends or otherwise move on to activities that they actually want to be doing. I think if a game does have dailies of some kind, the downsides of dailies can be mitigated in two ways. First, by ensuring that the reward from a daily is not something unique from the daily. That is, if you miss a daily, you can just farm elsewhere through regular play and catch up on what you missed. A daily is just a more efficient means of getting that reward. Of course, we can't have a difference in efficiency of 100 to 1, then it becomes pointless to do anything other than just log in and do your dailies. The second mitigating factor is to make the daily objective something that could reasonably be achieved through regular gameplay. So games that have dailies like kill 10 enemies without having a weapon equipped, that's just silliness. No one wants to play a game like that. But if it's just kill 100 monsters in Baal's throne room, well, thanks. I was going to do that anyway. Again though, it's not clear that there even are dailies in D4. But now it's time to put on our tinfoil hats, because Blizzard may be dropping secret hints at the release month for Diablo 4. Listen closely here to what Diablo franchise general manager Rod Ferguson says.
Now, as Diablo 4 marches towards its launch next year,
and look at what the blog post says as we march forward toward releasing Diablo 4 in 2023. Now, over the past few months, we've had speculative talks on when Diablo 4 may release. March 2023 was the earliest reasonable date we could guess based on theories related to the release of Diablo books, plus past betas from past Blizzard games. If it doesn't release in March, then it should release by June at the latest, because all games shown at the Xbox and Bethesda showcase in June were said to release within the next 12 months. Let's also remember, at BlizzCon 2010, the Diablo 3 team was asked when the game would release. They replied, likely 6 months after beta starts. Diablo 3's beta began in September 2011, and the game released 8, not 6, months later, in May 2012. However, it seems they were originally targeting the first quarter of the year because they announced a delay to shareholders in February, so they likely were still targeting 6 months at the start of beta. So if this strategy remains the same a whole decade later, then 6 months from now is March. We don't know for sure when this beta starts. They said the deadline to apply is October 11th, but in theory, it could be starting tomorrow. Regardless, even if it's October, that would mean April if we go by the 6 months. Just food for thought. And that's going to wrap up this week's video. But do be sure to check out last week's video in which we discussed the new charms being added to Diablo 2 that completely changed the meta. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider pledging on YouTube or Patreon and unlocking behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it. Check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Riker's Raiders for more gaming content.